Hi, my dear students. Welcome to the new lecture, Introduction to Accounting Standards. So first, let us see the overview, what we are going to discuss in this lecture. Introduction, objectives, and benefits of accounting standards. So first, we will give the intro part to accounting standards. What are the benefits due to introduction of such accounting standards also we will see. Then accounting standards setting process, how accounting standards are setted in India before coming to issue. We will see through this process. Okay. Then list of accounting standards exist in India till now and their applicability also we will check. The need for convergence to global standards. Even though existing accounting standards are there, what is the need for convergence to global standards? What are these global standards? We will check. International financial reporting standards. These global standards are nothing but international financial reporting standards. What exactly international financial reporting standards and who will issue such international financial reporting standards? Why we have to convert towards the such international financial reporting standards also we will see. Convergence to IFRS in India. In India, whether we are converted to IFRS or whether we are following existing accounting standards or both are there, we are going to discuss such matters. Concept of Ind AS. Apart from this IFRS, what again this Ind AS? So many points are there. So many black marks here. We don't know at all. So many gaps are there. We'll fill all such gaps. And this chapter was entirely new to you. So that's why I will take it into the discussion elaboratively. So then carve-outs and carve-ins. What is this carve-out and carve-in? Then roadmap for Ind AS implementation. These are all things we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay. So many gray areas are there. I already told you, completely unknown to you. So first, without wasting much time, let us entering into the topic. That is the first and foremost part was introduction to accounting standards. So first, let us discuss the meaning of accounting standards, guys. The meaning of accounting standards. What exactly accounting standards is? Accounting standards are written policy documents. These are written by somebody. These are written by somebody, formulated by somebody. Policy documents issued by the government with the support of other regulatory bodies like Ministry of Corporate Affairs, issuing accounting standards for corporates in consultation with National Financial Reporting Authority, covering the following aspects of accounting transaction or events in the financial statements. What are such accounting aspects they are covering? Recognition, measurement, presentation, disclosure. Okay. So while reading the meaning of accounting standards, you can't appreciate exactly. I'll explain through my OneNote. Concentrate, guys. First, we are discussing the meaning of accounting standards. Sir, in India, who have the ultimate supreme power to issue accounting standards, sir, ante ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. That is our regulatory body. I'm talking in India, who have the supreme authority to issue accounting standards are, which was our regulatory body, ICAI. ICAI had two types of committees. ICAI had two types of committees. One is known as standing committee. Another one is known as non-standing committee. Standing committee. Second. One is standing committee. Another one is non-standing committee. Standing committee, non-standing committee. Sir, what is the meaning of standing committee? What is the meaning of non-standing committee? These standing committees are permanent committees. These are permanent in nature. Permanent in nature. Okay. What about non-standing committees, sir? These were established with a particular objective. These are established with a particular objective. If such objective was fulfilled, then such committees might be closed according to the decision of the ICAI. So these are, I can put in the sense of temporary, object oriented. Now, in such non-standing committee, one of the committee was, or one of the board was accounting standard board. Accounting standard board. In shortcut, I can put it as ASB. Accounting standard board. ASB. ASB of ICAI. Now, who have the authority to issue accounting standards in India, sir? Accounting Standard Board of ICAI have the authority to issue accounting standards in India. Now, once such accounting standards released by the ICAI, then it should took approval from Council of ICAI. ICAI having the council. I will explain each and everything. Just listen me for the time being. So once if it is approved by Council of ICAI, straight away such standards may be used by non-corporate entities. Non-corporate entities. You know, non-corporate means other than company entities. Non-corporate entities. Now, the approved standards by Council of ICAI are not straight away used by corporate entities. First, such standards will be suggested by NFRA to the central government. Suggested by NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority, suggested by NFRA to the central government. Then central government will give a specific notification. In such notification, they will issue, central government will issue in such notification, central government will issue a notification. In such a notification, they will issue accounting standards. This is the actual story, how accounting standards are issued in India. Again, one more time, I'm repeating, concentrate. Sir, the ultimate supreme body to issue accounting standards in India was Accounting Standard Board of ICAI, which was a non-standing committee. ICAI having some standing committees, ICAI having some non-standing committees. So even though the Auditing Standard Board, who have the authority to issue the auditing standards, is also a non-standing committee. Now, the accounting standards issued by the ICAI will be ultimately approved by the Council of ICAI. Once such accounting standards approved by Council of ICAI, straight away used by non-corporate entities like partnership firms, trust, societies, sole proprietors, other than companies. The accounting standards approved by ICAI are ultimately suggested by NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority, which is a independent body formulated by the central government to oversee the regulatory matters related to financial reporting. Okay. We will check what exactly NFRA as well. NFRA will suggest such accounting standards to the central government. Then central government, through the notification, it will issue accounting standards to corporate entities. Accounting standards it will release to corporate entities. 1 second. It will release accounting standards to corporate entities. Okay. This is how in generally accounting standards are going to issue in India. Now coming back to the meaning here, the entire meaning of accounting standards given in related to the company point of view. Accounting standards are written policy documents issued by the government. That is, who will, which type of standards are issued by the government, sir? Ante, that is accounting standards related to corporate entities. That is non-corporate entities straight away issued by Council of the ICAI. Okay, with the support of other regulatory bodies like Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Sir, why MCA coming into the picture? You know already all the corporate entities are governed by the MCA. Okay, so any notification related to the company is coming through the Ministry of Corporate Affairs of the central government. So in government, the particular wing was Ministry of Corporate Affairs, issuing accounting standards for corporates in consultation with National Financial Reporting Authority, who ultimately suggested, sir, that is National Financial Reporting Authority, covering the following aspects of accounting transaction or event in the financial statements. Now, such standards should cover any of the following aspect. Which aspect? Accounting transaction or events. Accounting transaction or events in the financial statements. In the financial statements, when I have to recognize a particular aspect, when I can recognize of events and transactions in the financial statements, that is when simply I can put timing of recognition, measurement of these transaction and events, at which value, that is monetary measurement, at which value I can put such figure into the financial statements, presentation of these transactions and events in the financial statements in a manner that is meaningful and understandable to the reader. Simply how I can make it present, that is, sir, can I club with the other items? Can I put it as a separate line item where I have to present? Such all issues will be discussed by the presentation aspect. The ultimate objective is to give the meaningful information. Disclosures relating to these transactions and events to enable the public at large and the stakeholders and the potential investors in a particular to get an insight into what these financial statements are trying to reflect, and thereby facilitating them to take prudent and informed business decisions. Simply disclosures relating to transactions and events, that is after preparation of the financials, a separate disclosure should be given. Disclosure is nothing but information about the financials, information about the components in the financials. After the preparation of statement of P&L and the balance sheet and the cash flow statement, you can give it disclosures. Disclose. You have to provide such additional information apart from the financial statements. Disclosures are also form part of the financials only. Then such issued policy documents are technically known as accounting standards. Here a lot more to explain each and everything. Please all of you concentrate, guys. You know, Ministry of Corporate Affairs of the central government. I already showed the MCA website, right? Once again, I'm showing. So which is a website of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. 1 second. Sorry, just a moment. Yeah. So this is a Ministry of Corporate Affairs official website. we checked in the chapter financial statements of companies how the company data database exists in case of MCA websites and various forms filed by the MCA to comply certain compliances. All such things we already check by using the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website. Okay, you know what exactly MCA issuing accounting standards for corporates in consultation with National Financial Reporting Authority. Sir, what is this National Financial Reporting Authority? First, let me explain through my OneNote. Again, I'll go to the particular official website, guys. NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority. Sir, NFRA was established through Section 132 of Companies Act 2013. Section 132 of Companies Act 2013. Before NFRA, the independent body was termed it as NACAS, National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards, which was National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards, which was established through Companies Act 1956, actually. Companies Act 1956. So once Companies Act 2013 was introduced, NACAS lose their significance. The reason why NACAS was established at that point of time to suggest accounting standards to the central government. Ultimately, the accounting standards formulated by Accounting Standard Board of ICAI are ultimately suggested by the NACAS to the central government. Then central government, MC of the central government, will issue notification. Okay, but once Companies Act 2013 introduced, NACAS lose their significance completely. Then in the place of NACAS, NFRA was formulated by the central government to suggest accounting standards. Along with that, right now NFRA having some regulatory powers. NACAS doesn't contain such regulatory powers. Now NFRA can have a power to investigate the partnership firms or sole proprietorship firms who are conducting the compliance activities as like chartered accountants, cost accountants, and company secretaries, whether they are correctly adopting the practices or not. NFRA can give their advices on the financial reporting matters. So like NFRA contains certain powers right now while compared to NACAS. So that's why I can put like this: NACAS plus certain regulatory powers is equal to NFRA. Okay, now such all discussion I'm going to explain through the official website of NFRA. Please all of you concentrate here, guys. NFRA. First, before checking the NFRA official website, let us read some content about NFRA, guys. So I highlighted the content already. Please concentrate all of you here. Sir, NACAS of Companies Act 1956 versus NFRA of Companies Act 2013. So NACAS is nothing but National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standard. NFRA is nothing but National Financial Reporting Authority. As a corporate professional, one should be equipped with the knowledge of the body set up under the company law, which was evolved through company law. That's why I mentioned Section 132 to advise the central government and regulate the issues in regard to the standards of accounting and auditing which a company or a particular class of company must have to adopt. NACAS was set up by the Companies Act, but NFRA, that is Companies Act 1956, but NFRA was set up under Companies Act 2013, are the bodies for the purpose of advisory and regulation. Now, if you check the words they are using, NFRA for the purpose of advisory and regulation of compliances with the standards notified in relation to accounting and auditing. NACAS will no longer be in action after the applicability of Section 132 of Companies Act 2013, which deals with NFRA. Okay. So a brief about the NACAS was given. I don't require anything related to NACAS. Now come back to NFRA, guys. I required things related to NFRA. Why? Because right now NACAS lose their significance. A brief about NFRA set up under the Companies Act 2013. The concept of having a body such as a National Financial Reporting Authority is a modified concept, the bear of which was extracted from the Companies Act 1956 only. So the ultimate concept was taken from 1956 only. In Companies Act 2013, the new authority is set up named National Financial Reporting Authority. It is an advisory body which will also function as the regulatory authority. It have two functions. One is advisory body as like NACAS, plus it has certain regulatory powers for the accounting policies for same purposes for which NACAS was set up under the Companies Act 1956. That's when NACAS under Companies Act 1956 plus the regulatory powers is equal to NFRA under Companies Act 2013, guys. Okay, 1 second. Okay, next. Sir, what is the main objective of NFRA, sir? What are the main objective of NFRA? Concentrate. The first objective is similar to the objective of NACAS, that is advise the central government on the formulation and laying down the accounting and auditing standards, that is suggesting the accounting standards to the central government. And the second objective is of regulatory nature, which aims at monitoring, enforcing the compliance with accounting standards and auditing standards, that is for the purpose of improving in quality. If you check with the quality of service provided by the professionals, whether we are providing the quality of service or not, they will check. Professionals means whom? Chartered accountants, cost accountants, company secretaries. So now coming to the constitution of NFRA, NFRA contains total 16 members. Out of such 16 members, one chairperson, remaining all are 15 members, but 15 other members may be prescribed, not yet prescribed. Only right now chairman it have, and their own office is in Delhi, which was actually newly established. That's why the administrative part, all such things are going to establish in the near future. Okay. So just a small powers I am telling you here. NFRA has same powers as vested in the civil court. Power to impose the penalty. Okay. NFRA has also the power of debarring the member or the firm for engaging himself. Yes, right now NFRA have a authority to debar the chartered accountant members as well. So such all powers it have. Hope you understand what exactly the meaning of NFRA now. Okay. Sir, you told in the earlier discussion that who ultimately issue the accounting standards are ante. So the accounting standards were issued by Accounting Standard Board of ICAI, right? Sir, what exactly the Accounting Standard Board of ICAI, sir? Let us check with the official information which was given here. Accounting Standard Board of ICAI, 1 second. This is actually NFRA official website. So if you check regarding the NFRA, the entire information is given. A separate official website is there, National Financial Reporting Authority. So about the organization, if you click, everything will be clearly given. 1 second. Yes. So please check related to the NFRA information, so that I don't want to go into the in-depth issues. Okay. Let us check about Accounting Standard Board, guys. Just a second. Yeah. This is the Accounting Standard Board. This is our ICAI official website. If you check here, Accounting Standard Board is there. Okay, right now the chairman of the Accounting Standard Board was CA MP Vijay Kumar sir. Okay, he's a popular, famous financial reporting faculty, very known face. Earlier, he was acted as a financial reporting faculty. Now, functions, objectives, or terms of the reference. If you check the objectives of the Accounting Standard Board, yes, we are checking the objectives of Accounting Standard Board. Just a moment. It's running. So it's buffering actually. 1 second. So right, if you check the Accounting Standards Board history, history of Accounting Standard Board in India, on 21st April 1977, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, as the premier accounting body in our country, set up Accounting Standard Board to harmonize the diverse accounting policies and practice prevalent in our country. Here it is given the main objective of the accounting standard, that is to issue the accounting standards for the purpose of harmonization of diverse accounting policies and practices. So the primary duty of accounting standard board is to formulate the accounting standards for India. I hope you will get the answer. The primary objective of accounting standard board, how it was constituted. So what are the different members are there? Just let us have a small look, right? We already made the look about the members and all other stuff, how the accounting standard board was constituted. Just now we check. Next, consider guys, one more thing. Sir, now accounting standard board you check. What about the council, sir? Council of ICAI. What this council? Just now few days back. Now I'm recording this lecture as on 11th of December. So the ICAI elections already completed in the month of December 3rd and 4th. So overall India-wide ICAI elections were conducted. What such elections are actually, why such elections was happened? You know, once if you are knowing information about the council, let us have a look on council. What exactly the meaning of council? Consider guys. So this was actually CA Act. We have a separate act called CA Act 1949. How the Companies Act 2013 is there. How the Income Tax Act 1961 is there. In the same way, we have a separate act called Chartered Accountants Act 1949. So these are the contents in the CA Act. So they are given what exactly meaning of the Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. The management of the affairs of the institute is undertaken by a council. Ultimately, who will manage the affairs of the ICAI and a council constituted under the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. The council consists of 32 elected fellow members. 32 elected fellow members. For that purpose, only elections are happened. Those are known as central council elections, and up to 8 members nominated by the government of India. Sir, 8 members will be ultimately nominated by government of India. Total 32 plus 8 is equal to 40. The elected members of the council are elected under single transferable vote system by the members of the institute. Who will elect such council members, sir? And members of the institute. So I also participated in the voting. Why? Because I'm the member of a chartered accountant. I am the member of the ICAI, right? So the council is re-elected every 3 years. The council members, that means elections are going to happen 3 years once. The council again elects 2 of its members to be president and vice president who hold office for 1 year. So every time in the website, you will see the pics of the presidents and the vice president. Ultimately, council members will reappoint one person out of such council members, as one person as president and another person as vice president, and their term was only 1 year. For every year, president will change from time to time. So the president is the chief executive authority of the council. Okay. So apart from that, this is the central council. This is known as the central main council. Regional wise also councils they have. Regional wise, ICAI has 5 regions: Eastern region, Western region, Northern region, Southern region, and Central region. Okay. So our in generally the Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka will coming under, I think so, Southern region, SIRC, the Southern Regional Council of ICAI. Okay. Now come back, guys. Hope you get some information about the council as well. So let us come back with the material. All of you concentrate. So ultimately, if I read the accounting standards meaning right now, then you can appreciate in full-fledged manner. Accounting standards are written policy documents who ultimately issued certain accounting standard board of ICAI. Coming to corporate entities, it should be ultimately notified by the central government through Ministry of Corporate Affairs in a separate notification. In case of the non-corporate entities, once if it was approved by the Council of ICAI, automatically used by the non-corporate entities with the support of other regulatory bodies like MCA, issuing accounting standards for corporate in consultation with the National Financial Reporting Authority. The standards ultimately issued by Accounting Standard Board of ICAI are suggested by the National Financial Reporting Authority, WISA, which is a replacement of the NACAS, which have some regulatory powers while compared with the NACAS as well. Covering the following aspects of accounting transactions or events in the financial statements, accounting standards will tell us When you can recognize a particular transaction or event in the financial statement, that is nothing but recognition. At which value I can measure in such financials, the transaction or event at which value I can measure also, they will tell, which is nothing but measurement. So how you can present such information in the financials also, they will tell, which is nothing but presentation aspect. Disclosure, some additional information apart from the figures in the financials for the purpose of better understanding of the financials, that is through disclosures they will discuss. Now such policy documents are technically known as accounting standards. Hope you are getting what exactly accounting standards is. Next, guys, concentrate. Then next question coming into my mind is, why accounting standards? Sir, these all are issued. Okay, we understood. Why accounting standards? If accounting standards are not issued, then what happens? Let us have a look. Why accounting standards were issued? For standardization of alternative accounting treatment. Sir, my organization followed one type of accounting treatment. I can treat it as a capital expenditure. I will not transfer to P&L. I want to show it is under balance sheet as an asset, certain expenditure. But the other entity want to treat it as a revenue expenditure and just they want to charge it into profit and loss account. Then is it my accounting treatment is correct? Is it other organization accounting treatment is correct? Who will tell? Accounting standards, standardization of alternative accounting treatments. For a particular circumstance contains more than one accounting treatment, then accounting standards will curb the various accounting treatment and they have to mandate to follow a certain accounting treatment. Accounting standards reduce or eliminate to a reasonable extent, not fully, to a reasonable extent, any confusing variations in the accounting treatment and presentation of economic events while preparing the financial statements. So various accounting treatment if exist, through introduction of the accounting standards, the standardization of the accounting treatments is possible. That is the reason why accounting standards issued mainly to eliminate various accounting treatment. Or I can put to eliminate various accounting policies. You know what exactly the meaning of accounting policy, right? I discussed in the financial statements of companies. I think so. Accounting policy is an accounting principle or method adopted to follow such accounting principles in the preparation and presentation of the financials. Okay, so there are so many accounting policies are exist, but through introduction of accounting standards, the various accounting policies were curbed and the standardized accounting policies will be followed throughout all the organizations. For example, coming to the inventory, in case of inventory valuation, there are so many methods can be adopted by the industries. That is, some entities may adopt the FIFO method, some are maybe LIFO, some are maybe weighted average, some are maybe some other industry policies. Okay, but as per the accounting standard 2, once AS2 introduced, out of all the methods, very few methods were suggested. That means various alternative accounting treatments were reduced through introduction of accounting standards. And the next second one, the second reason, requirements for additional disclosures. Sir, Companies Act 2013, that is Schedule 3, told these many disclosures only. But accounting standards will tell certain additional disclosure which can enhance the decision of the decision maker. That means statutes will not mandate to provide such disclosures, but such disclosures are possible through follow-up of the accounting standards. There are certain areas where information is not statutorily required to be disclosed. As per Schedule 3, no need to require to be disclosed. However, accounting standards may call for appropriate disclosures of accounting policies followed and other required information in the financial statements, which would be helpful for the readers to understand the accounting treatment done for the various items in those financial statements. That means through provide certain additional disclosures, users of the financial statements may have the better decision making probabilities. Okay. Next, comparability of the financial statements, which is one of the most important reason for introduction of accounting standards. Comparability of the financial statements. If I follow some accounting treatment and the another entity follow the other accounting treatment, then how can compare the financials of two different entities related to a specific industry? Then which entity is performing well? How can I know? So the decision makers also want to take the proper decisions while making the comparative estimates of the comparative figures of the two entities, which is possible if you both the entities follow the same set of practices and the same set of accounting treatments, right? So that's why, in addition to improving the credibility of accounting data, standardization of accounting procedures improves comparability. Standardization of accounting procedures improves comparability of the financial statements, both intra-enterprise and inter-enterprise. Sir, what is the meaning of intra-enterprise? Intra-enterprise means within the company or within the entity. Inter-enterprise means between the two entities. Okay, the intra-enterprise comparison involves comparison of financial statements of same enterprise over a number of years. So I'm comparing my current year financial data with the last year financial data. If I adopted different accounting treatment for the last year and other accounting treatment for the current year, then how can I compare the financials of current year with the previous year? So that's why I have to follow the same standard set of policies. So the intra-enterprise comparison is possible if the enterprises uses same accounting policies every year in drawing up its financial statements. Okay, the inter-enterprise comparison involves comparison of financial statements of different enterprises for same accounting period. This is possible only when the comparable enterprises use similar accounting policies in preparation of the respective financial statements. Now, hope you understand why the standardization of the accounting treatment or the standard set of policies you have to follow. That is the main objective is comparability of the financial information. Reduction of scope for creative accounting. Reduction of scope for creative accounting. Sir, what is the meaning of creative accounting? Favorable accounting. Creative accounting means favorable. The creative accounting refers to twisting of accounting policies to produce the financial statements favorable to a particular interest group. For example, sir, in the next year, I required loan. That's why I want to show you more profit. Then change the policies according to your decision. Sir, I got the loan in the next year. For that next year, the tax burden is more. That's why little bit I want to decrease my profits. Then you may twist. Or I want to enhance my profits for the purpose of increase of my share. So in my mind, various different activities are there. So the accounting treatments should curb all such wrong decisions which are in your mind. Such a favorable accounting practices may completely avoided through introduction of accounting standards. So it is possible to overstate profits and assets by capitalizing the revenue expenditure. Yes, sir, if it is a revenue expenditure, charge it to the P&L, but you are making capitalizing to the balance sheet. That's not correct. So such practices will be entirely avoided through introduction of accounting standards, or to understate them by writing off capital expenditure against the revenue of the current accounting period. Such practices can be curbed only by framing standards. So the ultimately why you are issuing accounting standards are under standardization for alternative accounting treatments, for additional disclosures, for the purpose of disclosing additional disclosures, for the purpose of comparability of the financial statements, for the purpose of reduction in scope of the creative accounting. So through diagrammatic representation also I given here. So the benefits of the accounting standards, mainly standardization of alternative or accounting treatments, then requirements for additional disclosures, comparability of the financial statements, and one more thing is they're not given in the diagram, which was reduction in creative accounting. Reduction in creative accounting treatments. Okay, these are the main reasons for which accounting standards issued, guys. Okay, so in our overview, I already told you we are discussing intro to the accounting standards and reason, the objective for which accounting standards issued, and the standard setting process also we are going to see, guys. One important note is given. This important note, concentrate, guys. Already given, it is an important. Accounting standards have to be read in line with the legal requirements. That is, in case of any conflict, statute would prevail over accounting standards. Because accounting standards are principle based, application of accounting standard becomes Judgmental in case of complex business transactions. Sir, what he is telling, sir? Let me put here, guys. Concentrate. Just now we saw the objectives of introduction of accounting standards, right? First let me put objectives of introduction of accounting standards. Then we will check the note, guys. Objective of introduction of accounting standards. You know, there are four main objectives, or there are main four reasons why accounting standards were introduced. What is the first and foremost reason, guys? That is standardization. I'll put into the simple figures. Standardization. Standardization. What is the next objective? That is for the providing additional disclosures. Additional disclosures. What is the next objective? Comparability of the financials. Comparability. What is the last objective? That is reduction in creative accounting. Now, what is the note? Just now we saw, sir, if there is any conflict, occurred in between accounting standards and statute, if there is a conflict occurred in between accounting standards and statute means Companies Act 2013 or any other acts, which will prevail, sir? Ante statute only prevails. So the first importance we have to give to the statute. So accounting standards are working within the purview of the statute. Why this point was clearly given? For a particular accounting treatment, Schedule 3 told certain provisions, let us assume, and accounting standard told some other provisions. Then which provisions will prevail, sir? Ante statute. In generally is not happen like that. If at that point of time, if it happened like that, then accounting standards might change it in the forthcoming point of time. But as a safeguard, just they are telling accounting standards never prevail the statute will prevail the accounting standards. Okay. So the next items further, let us read. Standard setting process, guys. How in generally accounting standards were set by Accounting Standard Board of ICAI. Let us check, guys, all of you. First, let me read the brief areas here. Then I will explain the standard setting process through my OneNote. Identification of area, constitution of study groups, preparation of draft and its circulation, ascertainment of views of different bodies on the draft, finalization of exposure draft, comments received on exposure draft, modification of the draft, issue of accounting standard. Sir, what are these different items, sir? Okay, I given a proper diagrammatic representation, the standard setting process. I'm going to explain through my OneNote. Concentrate, guys. How in generally standards were set up in India. So what is the concept I'm discussing? Standards setting process. Standard setting process. So practically we will deal this. Consider, guys, how practically the standards are set up. Sir, you know, ICAI contains the non-standard committee, which is Accounting Standard Board of ICAI, right? Under Accounting Standard Board of ICAI, first, what it will deal? Sir, as per the present scenarios, what are the gray areas exist in the industries? Or the area in which there is a necessity of accounting standards? Lot of confusions are there in which area? Is it related to the part of industry? Maybe is it related to agriculture, whether we have to provide some guidance, or whether the component, sir, can we provide any guidance related to tangible items, whether we have to provide any guidance related to a particular expense, interest cost, maybe like that. They will decide a particular area. They will choose the area first. That is, the particular area will be decided by Accounting Standard Board of ICAI. That is, particular area first they will decide in which area accounting standards will be needed. So the particular area. Once the particular area decided by Accounting Standard Board of ICAI, ASB contains different study groups, guys. ASB contains different study groups. Sir, what is this study group, sir? Study group means they will make research. They are into the, they will go into the practical scenario, what exactly the problem is, where it is arised. The study groups will make research. After that, they will put what is the objective. Objective means why that standards we are going to introduce. Okay, sir, is there any definitions we have to given in that specific standard for the purpose of understanding? Definition we have to give. Is there any specific definitions we have to give for better understanding of that standard? Sir, that standards scope, is it applicable to all type of entities? Is it applicable to all type of entities or any particular entities? Is it applicable to all type of activities? The scope means the applicability also it will define. Then this standard was introduced for which purpose? Is it for what exactly the aspects of accounting standards? That is it for recognition, or is it for measurement, or is it for presentation, or is it for disclosure, or maybe more than one aspect is covered? So all such things, they will be entered by the study groups. Okay, so one study group made after completion of all the research and all other activities, then they will prepare draft, which is not a final copy, which was known as draft, or I can put into a preliminary draft. It can be termed as a preliminary draft. Preliminary drafts. So then such preliminary drafts will be ultimately given to different professional bodies. So different professional bodies means it will be discussed by council members, first council members. Okay, council members of ICAI, you know, maybe Institute of Cost Accounts of India, which is also ICAI, Institute of Company Secretaries of India. So maybe big universities. So just they will take a discussion or the comments from all such people. So after taking comments from all such people, then the exposure draft will be ready. Exposure draft, which is not a preliminary draft. Why? Because we already took insights from different bodies as well, right? Then which is known as exposure draft. Now such exposure draft will be issued to public. Sir, public to get the comments. Public means here not the general public who have the knowledge on such financial information. That is mainly members of the professional bodies. Members of professional bodies like chartered accountants, cost accountants, and company secretaries. So I also regularly receive certain exposure drafts from the ICAI. Sir, give your comments. Sir, whether any needs to be suggested. I also received regularly through emails. I will check certain exposure drafts or something which I received for the purpose of making comments. Every member of the chartered accountant in generally getting from ASB of ICAI. If you check here, which is exposure draft, guys. Just I'm opening. I'm directly go to the my mailbox. So if you check ASB ICAI, it came from ASB ICAI. Dear professional colleagues, subject exposure draft of revised accounting standards for public comments. Okay, these are given for the public comments. So which standard actually they want to revamp something they are given, right? The Indian accounting standard. This is not related to existing accounting standards. This is related to Indian accounting standard. Just they want some comments, guys. Some more standards also came. I will show just a second. If you check here, this is exposure draft of revised accounting standard 36 impairment of assets for public comments. So regularly coming in generally. Till now, I showed 2 mails within the month of August and September itself. If you go down, one more exposure draft of the revised accounting standards for public comments as on July 9th. So regularly coming, it is the regular process. Now, hope you get my point. Then the exposure draft will be ultimately issued to the public, to the members of the professional bodies. Then they will consider opinions of the members. After that, such exposure draft will be modified. Such exposure draft will be modified. Modified. 1 second. Modified according to comments received. That is modified after considering comments. That is according to comments received from members of the professional bodies, guys. Okay. Then the modified exposure draft will be ultimately approved. Ultimately approved by the council, guys. Ultimately approved by the council of ICAI. Then such standards may be directly used by the non-corporate entities. After that, such standards may be suggested by the NFRA to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Then MCA, through a special notification, they may release such standards. That is how the standard setting process in generally happening in case of India. If I go to the material, first identification of area will happen, then constitution of study groups will happen, then preparation of preliminary draft and its circulation among the different professional bodies will happen, then ascertainment of views of different bodies on such draft, then finalization of exposure draft will happen, then comments received from the public, that is members of the professional bodies on the exposure draft will happen, then modification of the draft will happen, then ultimately issue of such accounting standards by the council will happen. So how practically the standard setting process is going to take place in India also, visa. Okay. Then coming to the next issue, guys. Coming to the next issue. How many accounting standards are there in India, sir? Then till now, visa accounting standard board of ICAI was introduced in the year 1977. 1977. Now we are at 2021, almost at the end, maybe. Okay. Almost how many years? 23 plus 20, 43, 44 years. In these 44 years, total how many accounting standards were introduced in India? Let us see. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has so far issued 29 accounting standards. However, AS 6 on depreciation accounting has been withdrawn on revision of AS 10 property, plant and equipment. That means AS 6 not there, which was clubbed into AS 10, and AS 8 on accounting for research and development has been withdrawn consequent to the issuance of AS 26 on intangible asset. Right now, AS 8 is also not there, which was clubbed into AS 26. So 29 minus 2, effectively 27 standards are there. Thus, effectively, there are 27 accounting standards at present. Okay, they issued 29. Out of such 29, again 2 standards are clubbed into some other standards. That's why effectively only 27 accounting standards exist in the span of 44 years. Okay, the following is the list of accounting standards with their respective date of applicability. I will read each and every accounting standard for the purpose of knowing the name of the accounting standard. There is no other reason here, only for the purpose of knowing the name of the standard. AS1, disclosure of accounting policies, is there in group 1 syllabus, guys. Is there in group 1 syllabus. Valuation of inventories, yes, group 1 syllabus going to cover. Cash flow statement, covered in group 1, yes. Contingencies and events occurring after balance sheet date, that is AS4, contingencies and events occurring after balance sheet date, covered in group 2, not in group 1. AS5, net profit or loss for the period, prior period items and changes in accounting policies, covered in group 2, not in group 1. AS7, construction contracts, going to cover in again group 2. Revenue recognition going to cover in group 2. AS9 revenue recognition. AS10 property, plant and equipment will be going to cover in group 1 only. The effects of changes in forex rates covered in group 1 covered in group 2. Accounting for government grants AS12 covered in group 1. Accounting for investments covered in group 1. Accounting for amalgamations covered in group 2. Employee benefits nowhere covered in group 1 or group 2 will be covered in CA final, actually cover in CA final. Okay, borrowing cost covered in group 1. Segment reporting covered in group 2. AS18 related party disclosures covered in group 2. AS19 leases covered in group 2. AS20 earning per share covered in group 2. Consolidated finance statements not covered in CA inter syllabus, covered in final, but separate chapter is there. Through chapter we are going to cover in group 2. Through chapter, not a separate standard, plus CA final in detail discussion is there. Accounting for taxation on income will be covered by group 2, AS22. AS23 accounting for investments in consolidated finance statement in CA final. Discontinuing operations AS24 covered in group 2. Interim financial reporting not covered by group 1 and group 2 covered in CA final. Accounting standard 26 intangible assets covered in group 2. Financial reporting for interest in joint ventures CA final, which was AS27. AS28 impairment of assets in CA final. Provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets will be covered in group 2. So that means if you check either group 1 or group 2, almost all the standards are covered. Very few standards are going to cover in CA final. Okay, so almost most of the standards we are going to cover in CA inter syllabus only, but very few standards were covered in group 1. More standards will be covered in group 2, guys. So please, all of you know the standard name and the standard number. No need to by heart, because n number of times, multiple number of times, we will check with the number and the name of the standard. Such standards will be automatically stored, but at least you have to read all the standards at a stretch. What are all the different standards we have, for knowing purpose only. Now coming below, applicability of accounting standards. What is this applicability, sir? Okay, consider, guys, all of you, applicability. So what exactly discussed by the applicability of accounting standards? Simply, is it accounting standards applicable to all type of entities? So the answer it will give by the applicability of accounting standards. Concentrate. Enterprises to which accounting standards apply. Accounting standards apply in respect of any enterprise engaged in commercial, industrial or business activities, whether or not profit oriented, whether they may be profit oriented entities or non-profit oriented entities. Sir, profit oriented or non-profit oriented, what is the difference, sir? Profit oriented means they are conducting the business for the purpose of earning the profit. Non-profit oriented means they are also conducted their business for the purpose of earning the profit, but the earned profits again they are reinvested into the business. For example, how it will happen in case of societies or trusts. Okay, they are taking money from the members of the trust, they are taking money from the society members, or maybe certain money they can take in from the donations or from the government as well. They will conduct certain activity. Again, the profits which they get from their activities, again they will use for their objective. For example, medical campaignings, educational institutions. So such all things are coming under non-profit oriented entities. So for profit oriented entities as well as for non-profit oriented entities, for both the enterprises, accounting standards will be applicable, even if established for charitable or religious purpose. I already told you which was established with an intention as a charity or religious purposes. Accounting standards, however, do not apply to the enterprises solely carrying on activities which are not commercial, industrial or business in nature. Sir, which are not at all involving the commercial, industrial, business. Simply we are collecting donations, we are distributing again money to the needy people. From the richest person I am collecting, I am giving at the time of flooding activities, earthquakes. So certain examples I given here. an activity of collecting donations and giving them to flood affected people. Where there is a commercial or industrial or business in nature, receipt, payment. I'm not doing any activity in between here. So that's why if there is a solely carrying on the activities which are not commercial, industrial, or business in nature, for such activities, accounting standards doesn't applicable. Next, implication of mandatory standards. Sir, mandatory standards means when you should apply accounting standards mandatorily. Sir, mandatorily when I should apply accounting standards as an auditor, as I'm a practicing chartered accountant, when an enterprise should apply the accounting standards mandatorily, I have to know when the mandatory status of an accounting standards implies that in discharging their attest functions, what is the meaning of attest functions? I have to make attest my seal. I have to make attest my signature. On which cases, on discharging their attest functions, the members of the institute, who are the members of the institute, members of chartered accountants, are required to examine whether the financial statements are prepared in compliance with the applicable accounting standards or not. Simply is telling, wherever you are making signing on the financials, you have to check whether such enterprises prepare their financials in compliance with accounting standards or not. Yes, that is the mandatory. When you are making a sign on the financial statement, it is the mandatory to check whether such enterprise is compliance with accounting standards or not. That is the point he is telling. Okay. Sir, why actually companies mandatorily need to accounting standards? I'm going to explain through point number B. First point, I told you, whenever I want to do a test functions on such financials, such enterprise need to follow the accounting standards. And the second one, I'm going to explain why companies actually need to follow accounting standards. As per section 129(1), subsection 1 of the Companies Act 2013 requires companies to present their financial statements in accordance with accounting standards notified under section 133 of the Companies Act 2013. You already know what is the section 133. I told you that is accounting standards. So in redemption of preference share chapter, we saw for certain entities which those should comply the accounting standards and those should prepare the financials as per section 133. So that means section 133 is related to accounting standards. So section 129(1) of the Companies Act 2013 requires companies to present the financial statements in accordance with accounting standards notified under section 133 of the Companies Act 2013. Also, the auditor is required by section 143E to report whether, in his opinion, the financial statements of the company audited comply with the accounting standards referred to in section 133 of the Companies Act 2013. Where the financial statements of a company do not comply with the accounting standards, the company should disclose in its financial statements the deviation from the accounting standards, the reason for such deviation, and the financial effects, if any, arising out of such deviation as per section 129 of the Companies Act 2013. So what is the essence of this? Please all of you concentrate. The essence of point number B, I'm going to explain through my OneNote, guys. Now the point is here, is it accounting standards mandatory? Is it accounting standards mandatory in case of companies?